You're not going to believe this one. A couple in England withdraw their 6-year-old son from school because the boy is coming home traumatized and drained. Why? Because there's a boy in his school who's now allowed to wear a dress. And one day he seems to be a boy, and another day he seems to be a girl, and this is terribly confusing to the little boy. And finally, because the school stands behind this, because the school says we want to be welcoming and inclusive for all, obviously not for their son who's struggling, we want to be welcoming and inclusive for all, the parents ultimately withdraw their child. Well, this gets the attention of the British media. So here's a show, September 11th, the This Morning show, Holly and Philip. And they challenge the parents. You are not going to believe this interaction here. Let's start with Holly and Philip challenging the parents. And look at where they want to point the blame. Let's take a look.
There'll be a lot of people who are saying that children adapt remarkably well, if things are explained to them, then they understand very clearly. It's not an issue with the children; it's an issue with you. You're the ones that have the problem, not the children.
All right, the reaction from the father there with the raised eyebrows is priceless. The problem is with you. You're the ones. You're the bigots. You're the transphobes. You're the ones that are all hung up. Come on. You just tell the kid, hey, the little boy one day, little girl the next day, no big deal. Just tell the kids to get used to it. That's what the Charlotte Observer said, a year or two ago when there was a big push for transgender activism. So a 15-year-old boy who identifies as a girl can play on the girls' sports team and share the girls' locker room and bathroom and shower stall. And the Charlotte Observer said, well, kids just going to have to get used to it. What, are you crazy? What kind of cultural madness is that? Of course we care about a struggling kid who's struggling with gender identity. But the fact that a little boy is now confused and you want the parents to tell the boy, well, it's perfectly fine. He's Johnny today. He's Jane tomorrow. Maybe he'll be Johnny the next day. Come on, a 6-year-old kid. They also, when they're playing, with toys, they think the toys are real. Do you want to bring them into a fantasy world where whatever anybody perceives is real? Oh, but it gets worse. Listen to what Holly and Philip have to say to the parents next.
There's a great sort of media thing where they're trying to push this, and that it's a good thing. But I think there's more to it. I think there's we need to look at the scientific evidence behind it, and whether this is actually healthy. And as I said, the statistic that
I don't think media's pushing it. I think media's recognising it for the first time.
It's the same sort of situation. Where as a child who years ago would have been terrified, chastised for coming out as gay. And maybe would you have been part of those parents who said, well, not in my school, because things move on, people change.
Well,
attitudes change. We're less medieval now than we used to be.
Less medieval. Now we understand that boys can be trapped in girls' bodies and girls can be trapped in boys' bodies, and you may just switch back and forth. You might even have multiple gender identities. You may even have no gender identity. We can't be so medieval as to think that it's male and female after all. Give me a break. The media just recognizes the media's not pushing this. The media doesn't celebrate Bruce Jenner as Woman of the Year and give him his own reality TV show. The media doesn't celebrate this kid named Jazz, transgender kid, give him their own reality TV show. The media's not celebrating this in 100 different ways in movies and TV and all this. Media is just recognizing it. That's absolute hogwash. The media's helping to drive the narrative. And what about the science? What about the boy in Australia? At 12 years old, identifies as a girl, actually has some surgical enhancements or some surgery done on hormones, and at 14 realizes he made a mistake? He's actually a boy? And you've got this youngest sex change surgery candidate in Britain, what has gone from boy to girl, the boy back to girl, and deep confusion. My heart goes out to these people. My heart deeply goes out to these people. But you don't turn reality upside down for them. Look, if you have a kid in your school in a wheelchair, you don't make everybody else use elevators and say you can't use stairs. And if you have a kid in the school that's blind, you don't say everybody has to close their eyes when they play and they have to read in Braille. No, you do your best to accommodate the needs of a child that has a handicap, but you don't impose it on everyone else. Here, you impose the struggle on everyone else, and there is zero There is zero scientific evidence backing the claim that this 6-year-old who thinks I might be a girl trapped in a boy's body or vice versa, that is actually the case. We're not talking about someone who is biologically and chromosomally intersex. We're talking about a biological chromosomal male saying, I think I'm a girl. You don't impose that on everybody else. And you don't dare blame the parents for saying there are boys and there are girls, there are men, there are women, there are differences. Let us have compassion on struggling children, but let us not impose their struggles on everybody else. That is damaging and cruel to the other children. And to expect parents to make fantasy or perception into reality as asking parents to do harm to their own children.